Have you ever wondered why nothing works, even when you're doing everything right? You visualize, your journal, you speak abundance into the mirror, you meditate until your breath forgets time. But still, no shift, no sign, just silence. And here's the question that stops everything. What if all your effort is what's blocking the arrival? What if your prayers aren't falling on deaf ears, but on a universe that's waiting for you to stop yelling and start listening? You've been taught that if you want something bad enough, you have to chase it. Run harder, push louder, burn brighter. But that's a lie we tell ourselves to avoid the truth that scares us most. That healing doesn't come from effort, it comes from surrender. That maybe, just maybe, you're not supposed to make it happen. You're supposed to become the version of you that no longer needs it. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, it grows in size." And you've been resisting, haven't you? Not in anger, but in fear. Not with your words, but with your energy. You say, "I trust," but your body is holding its breath. You say, "I am ready," but your soul is still clenching. So let's pause, not to give up, but to wake up. Because maybe what you're searching for will only arrive once you stop trying to prove you deserve it. You've been told since the beginning that if you want something badly enough, you have to chase it. Run toward it. Hustle until your body forgets rest. Push until the universe has no choice but to give in. But chasing doesn't bring you closer. It pushes what you want even further away. Not because you're not worthy of it, but because chasing is built on the belief that you're not enough without it. Carl Jung didn't glorify the chase. He asked something quieter, something harder. What are you really chasing? Because more often than not, we're not chasing a dream. We're chasing relief. You think you're chasing love. Maybe you're really begging not to be abandoned. You think it's about money? Maybe you're still trying to prove to your parents or yourself that you matter. But here's the quiet tragedy no one wants to admit. If the desire comes from emptiness, no achievement will ever fill you. And the more you grasp, the more it slips. Because life doesn't respond to effort, it responds to energy. You don't attract what you wish for, you attract what you are. So if you are anxious, fractured, desperate to feel whole, then your life becomes a mirror, not of your vision board, but of your vibration. That's why the chase always leaves you exhausted, not just physically but spiritually, because deep down, you're not running towards something, you're running away from yourself. But what if you stopped, not out of defeat but out of awakening? What if stillness wasn't weakness, but a sign that your soul is finally done pretending? There's a part of you that's tired, not from laziness, but from longing. And that part of you is whispering now, "I'm not chasing success, I'm chasing wholeness." Let that sink in, because when you stop chasing, you don't stop moving forward. You start arriving. So if chasing isn't the answer, what is stillness? Yes, but not just stillness in action, stillness in thought, stillness in belief. Because your words may whisper, "I am ready," but your energy often says otherwise. And the truth is, the world doesn't respond to your voice. It responds to your vibration. You can't trick your soul. You can't decorate a wound with affirmations and expect it to disappear. You can't cover childhood fear with adult goals and call it healing. Carl Jung saw it with piercing clarity. Until you make the unconscious conscious, It will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So if your life feels stuck, if your dreams feel delayed, look beneath the surface, not at your schedule but in your shadow, because your subconscious is always listening, and not to the scripts you repeat when the room is quiet, but to the fear that hides in your silence, to the tightness in your chest when you imagine success, to the hesitation in your body when love gets too close. And here's the quiet truth most never hear. You're not being tested. You're being mirrored. Every delay isn't punishment, it's information. Every block is a signal. Something in you doesn't believe this is safe yet. And until you're brave enough to face that belief, you'll keep mistaking resistance for rejection. You don't need more rituals. You don't need another vision board. What you need is radical honesty. Ask yourself, do I actually believe I'm worthy of this? Or am I just trying to talk over the part of me that doesn't? Because no matter how often you say I am enough, if your subconscious is still carrying shame, life will answer that shame, not your words. So pause, not to give up, but to listen. Because the most powerful shift doesn't happen when you speak louder. It happens when you finally hear what your soul has been whispering all along. So you've listened. You've looked inward. You've faced the quiet ache beneath your affirmations. Now comes the hardest part, letting go. But not in anger, not in exhaustion, in reverence. Because when you finally realize that all your effort, all your striving, all your grasping wasn't creating alignment, it was preventing it. Then you begin to understand what Carl Jung meant by transformation. Letting go isn't giving up, it's waking up. It's the sacred moment when you stop trying to force reality to match your timeline, and you start trusting that life unfolds when you become who you were meant to be. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing. It means you can want the dream, but no longer need it to define you. You can hope for love, but no longer beg it to heal you. You've done enough. You've tried. You've held on with trembling hands, hoping something outside you would finally complete the inside. But the truth is, you were never meant to control the outcome, only to become the version of you who no longer fears it. So breathe. Unclench, unhook your worth from the results, and watch what happens when you no longer need life to prove your value. Because when you release with clarity, when you stop chasing from scarcity, when you say, even if this never comes, I remain whole, the universe listens. Not because you tricked it, not because you played the part, but because you finally stopped pretending to be broken. Letting go isn't the end of effort. It's the beginning of alignment. It's not silence. It's resonance. And it's not a weakness. It's wisdom. So the question isn't, will I still get what I want if I let go? The question is, who do I become when I no longer need it? That's the shift. That's the awakening. So you've let go, not out of fear, but from a place of deep, inner knowing. You've unclenched. You've released the timeline, the outcome, the illusion of control. And now, nothing. No divine sign, no instant shift, just silence, heavy and unfamiliar. And this is where most people break. Because we were taught that letting go should feel like freedom, that surrender should be followed by reward. But what comes instead is stillness. This is the void, and it's not a mistake. It's medicine. It's the sacred cocoon between who you were and who you're becoming. Your old self, the one built on proving and pleasing, is dissolving, and your new self hasn't fully arrived yet. This isn't a punishment. It's a pause, a calibration, a quiet, unseen reconstruction of your inner world. Because before life shifts on the outside, your nervous system must shift on the inside. Your patterns must dissolve. Your wounds must exhale. Your identity must loosen its grip on what no longer fits. But here's the challenge. This process isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with fireworks or clarity. It comes with fog, with waiting, with long mornings where nothing seems to move. And yet, this is the most fertile ground of all, because stillness isn't emptiness. Stillness is space, space for integration, space for energy to realign, space for your soul to finally speak, now that the noise is gone. So don't rush out of this place. Don't panic. Don't fill the silence with old distractions. Sit, not as someone waiting, but as someone becoming. Because in the void, something sacred is unfolding. You just can't see it yet. And maybe that's the point. Maybe true transformation doesn't ask for your certainty, only your willingness to stay present while everything inside you rearranges. So hold your ground, not because you know what's coming, but because you trust who you're becoming. This isn't nothing. This is becoming everything. After the silence, after the stillness of the void, your mind will reach for something familiar, a sign, a step, a sense of progress. And if you're not careful, it will reach for obsession, not because you're broken, but because the mind is terrified of emptiness. It confuses stillness with failure. It thinks if I'm not obsessing, I must not care. But obsession isn't care. Obsession is fear dressed up as focus. It's insecurity in disguise, whispering, I still don't feel whole. Carl Jung taught that real transformation doesn't come from control. It comes from integration, the slow, sacred act of becoming whole by welcoming every part of yourself, even the parts you've buried. You won't find healing in another book, or by checking your phone every 10 minutes, or by decoding every silence in someone else's behavior. Healing doesn't live in the obsession. It lives in your capacity to hold your shadow without trying to fix it. To sit with the version of you who feels unworthy and not shame them. To listen to the ache without rushing to distract it. Because true wholeness isn't perfection, it's presence. And when you begin to integrate, not suppress, you stop vibrating from lack. You stop begging life to complete you. You start radiating peace. Not because everything is figured out, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. So the next time you spiral into chasing, pause. Not out of fear, but out of mastery. Close your eyes and ask, what part of me still believes I need this to feel enough? Then breathe into that place. Hold it. Witness it. Because once it's seen, it no longer controls you. It becomes part of you, not your prison, but your passageway. You don't attract what you chase. You attract what you've made peace with. And the healed version of you doesn't chase, doesn't cling. It simply allows. It receives. So you've begun to integrate, to soften the edges between your pain and your presence. But there's still one voice that refuses to be quiet. The ego. It refreshes the page. It checks the message again. It rewrites the future in 100 anxious ways, hoping one of them will stick, because the ego craves control. It needs a plan, a timeline, a sense of certainty, even if that certainty is built on illusion. But the soul doesn't race, it doesn't beg, it simply breathes and remembers. The ego panics in silence. The soul is silence. The ego counts minutes. The soul moves in seasons. Jung knew this war well, the war between ego and essence, and he knew that most people live their entire lives stuck in that war, chasing peace while being led by fear, because the ego thinks if it can just get what it wants, then it can finally rest. But the soul only rests when you stop needing anything at all. And here's the sacred paradox. You don't create alignment through control. You become aligned by releasing control. Not recklessly, but relevantly. Because who you really are beneath the proving and the pleasing already knows everything meant for me will arrive. Not because I demand it, but because I've become the version of me who no longer needs to beg. So when the anxiety rises, when the page won't stop refreshing, when your thoughts get loud and your chest gets tight, pause. Ask, is this my ego or my essence? If it feels urgent, desperate, tight, it's ego. If it feels spacious, calm, grounded, it's soul. Let your soul lead. Let your breath remind you, you are not behind. You are not late. You are just learning how to trust something deeper than your mind. And when you choose peace, especially when your ego screams for proof, that's when your reality begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because peace is power. And the soul always knows the way. Once you've chosen peace over panic, once the soul starts whispering louder than the ego, a new doorway opens. But it doesn't lead to light, at least. Not at first. It leads into the dark, into the shadow. This is where most people stop. They want the light, but they fear what's buried underneath. They want to manifest abundance without meeting the part of them that feels undeserving. They want love without facing the part of them that still believes they're unlovable. But Carl Jung was clear. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So let's be honest, that fear you keep suppressing, that shame you hide behind ambition, that guilt you've wrapped in productivity, it's not your enemy, it's your teacher. Your shadow isn't trying to ruin you, it's trying to be seen, it's asking to come home. Real manifestation doesn't start with scripting. It starts with integration. It begins the moment you stop performing healing and actually feel the ache you've been avoiding, because you cannot call in wholeness while rejecting half of who you are. You cannot attract peace while hiding your chaos. You cannot magnetize love while hating the parts of you that feel unworthy. The wound beneath the goal, that's where the power lives. So sit with it. Look it in the eyes. Not to fix it, not to shame it, but to finally say, I see you. You're allowed to exist. And you no longer have to run the show. Because the moment you bring that shadow into the light, it loses its grip. It no longer needs to sabotage your success or disguise itself as a craving or hide inside your manifestations. You begin to radiate from a different place, not from lack, but from truth. You no longer try to attract a life that validates your worth. You start living as someone who already is worthy. And in that space, you don't force alignment, you become it. That's not magic. That's integration. That's individuation. That's freedom. So you've met your shadow. You've held it without judgment. You've seen how your wounds shaped your wants, how your pain was echoing in your desires. Now comes the hardest truth: you might be the one standing in your own way. Not because you're flawed, but because you haven't yet become the version of yourself who can hold what you're asking for. You say you want love, but a part of you still fears being truly seen. You say you want success, but deep down, you're scared of what it might ask you to become. And the universe, it's not ignoring you. It's not being cruel. It's waiting, patiently, silently, for you to stop rehearsing and start embodying, because your energy never lies. You can script affirmations all day. You can light candles, set intentions, recite mantras until your voice fades, but if your subconscious is still whispering, "I'm not enough," then life will continue to mirror that belief, not out of punishment, but out of protection. Because if the blessing arrived now, you wouldn't be able to hold it. Your hands are still trembling with unworthiness. Your identity is still rooted in needing, not in being. And this is where many stay stuck, not because the dream is too big, but because the self has not yet expanded to match it. So ask yourself honestly, quietly, what version of me is still afraid to receive this? What part of me doesn't feel worthy of the life I keep visualizing? Because once you meet that version with compassion, once you stop trying to skip ahead, and instead grow into alignment, everything shifts. The delays dissolve, the waiting is coming, and what once felt out of reach begins to reach for you. You are not stuck. You are not cursed. You are becoming. And when the becoming is complete, receiving is effortless. After all the peeling back, after releasing, integrating, surrendering, you begin to see something that was never truly gone, just hidden. You realize you were never missing. You were just buried beneath stories that weren't yours, beneath the overachiever, beneath the people pleaser, beneath the anxious overthinker who thought they had to earn everything. All that time, you weren't becoming someone new. You were remembering someone ancient, the soul beneath the striving, the quiet self who never had to prove, only to be. Carl Jung didn't urge us to perform some future version of ourselves. He called us back to the one we left behind, not because we were wrong, but because we were afraid that who we are at our core might not be enough. So we compensated. We overcompensated. We tried to show we were worthy, when all we really needed was to remember that we always were. And here's the paradox: when you stop trying to become, you start becoming, not through effort, but through alignment, not through force, but through presence. Because the soul doesn't strive, it remembers. And in that remembrance, everything softens, everything aligns. You stop asking the world for permission to be whole. You stop waiting for signs, timelines, or perfect conditions, and instead, you simply arrive, right here, right now, already enough. You don't have to chase your becoming. You are becoming. And the moment you remember that you don't manifest your future, you embody it. So breathe, not to distract, not to delay, but to return to yourself. You were never meant to chase your way into worth. You were meant to remember that it was never missing. This journey was never about doing more. It was about becoming less fragmented, less performative, less attached to what was never yours to hold. The love you seek, the peace you crave, the success you imagined, they don't arrive when you prove enough. They arrive when you remember. You already are. So if you're in the quiet now, if nothing feels like it's moving, Don't rush. Don't reach. Just listen. Because sometimes the silence you fear is the voice of your soul finally getting the space to speak. And maybe you didn't need a sign. You just needed to stop, to pause, to feel, to remember. You're not manifesting. You are returning. You're becoming. You're home. Thank you for watching all the videos on the channel. Remember to like and comment below so we can see you. See you in the next videos.